Breaking news here on CBS Sports HQ from the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens and linebacker Roquan Smith have agreed to a record 5-year deal worth $100 million. That's per NFL Network. The deal, which includes $45 million fully guaranteed, means Smith is the highest paid linebacker in NFL history. Baltimore acquired Smith back in October in a trade with the Bears. The Ravens travel to Cincinnati in a rematch with the Bengals in the wild card round this coming weekend. Here to discuss this breaking news, Pete Prisco and Charles Davis. Pete, I'll get your reaction to this. A big deal for Smith, historic deal for him in terms of being the highest paid linebacker in NFL history.
Yeah, Ray Lewis must be saying, I came around too soon watching this deal go. I mean, look, Roquan Smith's a good football player. This is a lot of money for an off-the-ball linebacker. And look, he's been good for their defense since he's been there. I got to give him credit. I didn't think he played that well last year. He's been much better this year. He's made Patrick Queen better on the interior of that defense. But again, I am a big believer in paying edge guys who can rush the passer, the boatload of the money, and if you have a special defensive tackle, you pay him. I'm not a big believer in paying tons of money to off-the-ball linebackers because I just don't think their impact is that great. Now, if he's special, like Ray Lewis was, or, certain guys like that, I say, okay, that's different. But I don't think Roquan Smith is that special. I think this is a great contract for him. I understand why the Ravens had to do it. They made the deal to go get him. You lock him up, and now you can use the franchise tag on Lamar Jackson if need be.
Yeah, and I think, Pete, you take it to understanding what you do, who the Ravens are. Like, I don't know that other teams make this same deal, first of all, trading for him midseason, and then signing him to a big money contract because of their style of play. But the way that the Ravens play, and you mentioned it, he made Patrick Queen better. They like linebackers on the field. They like those kind of players. They like that guy who can stay in the middle and be out there and plug up things in the run game so they can do other things on the back end of their coverage. So that fits perfectly. What is their phrase there? Play like a Raven. Roquan Smith certainly played like a Raven from the minute he got there. And he fits what they're looking for. That's why for them and for him, obviously, it's a fantastic deal. Other places, that wouldn't fit quite the same. This is a perfect match of player, organization, style on defense.
169 total tackles this year, 3 interceptions as well, 4.5 sacks. Pete, is that part of kind of what this deal is about? It's also not just about Roquan Smith, but about Lamar Jackson as well?
Well, you can't have both of them in that scenario.
Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. But here's the other thing. If you're Lamar Jackson and you're sitting there and you traded for and spent all that money to sign a linebacker, and I'm looking at my passing game over the years, and you really haven't done a lot other than Mark Andrews to help me out in the passing game, then I'm a little concerned about that. We know the identity of the Baltimore Ravens. They want to play good defense, run the ball, and have Lamar Jackson have those splash plays. But he would be nice to have a couple big play receivers on that team as well, wouldn't it? And so if I'm him, I'm sitting there saying, hey, we can pay the linebacker. We can trade for and pay a linebacker.
Right.
And here I am with the same receiving group I've always had. So I think there's got to be a little bit of concern for Lamar Jackson from his camp and his part. By the way, Roquan Smith negotiated this deal himself, the same type of situation Lamar Jackson is doing against Ravens management. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it is very interesting, but I also look at it this way. A lot of people concerned about Lamar Jackson contract, the knee injury this year, what the Ravens will do. In some sense, in some ways, to me, he was in a no-lose situation, meaning Lamar Jackson. And the reason I say that is if he doesn't sign a deal with them, they're going to tag him, right? And that's going to be the top 3, and you divide it out and blah, 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 and the whole deal. It's big money. Kirk Cousins went on that franchise tag, it felt like 37 times before he ended up going to Minnesota. There were no holes in his shoes, okay, at the end of the day. He was doing just fine financially. That's not going to be an issue for Lamar. The Ravens may be somewhat relieved that they don't sign a big deal there. And you're talking about helping him out. They gave him Hollywood Brown outside. He's not a great thrower outside the numbers. So it's not the greatest match made in heaven. Working inside with Mark Andrews. They drafted Rashad Bateman from the University of Minnesota, who's a bigger-bodied receiver who runs better inside and runs from the slot and provides targets that way. So playing to the strength of Lamar Jackson is a tough one for the Ravens because you go get one of those super speedy guys outside, what's your return on investment? Is Lamar going to hit him as consistently as you want? that's where things get a little dicey. That's why Mark Andrews is really WR1 for them, even though he's a tight end.
Good point.
He is that target for them. He is that guy.
Yeah, good point. I mean, the pieces are there, but it's a matter of them trying to fit them together.
Okay, and Charles made a good point. If he can't hit the outside guy down the field, and that's not a big part of his passing game, then are you overpaying Lamar Jackson? That's the question. I mean, you can't have it both ways. You got it. It's one way or the other.
And Pete, that's why part of the reason I think they haven't come to a contract agreement is I feel like the Ravens want to go ahead and tag him. It's better for that than to be locked up long term if this isn't going to go down the way you want. Because I do fall back on the man in black, Jerry Glanville, and we all love Lamar Jackson. But isn't it the last 2-3 seasons? He's missed multiple games. His legs are stock in trade. That's what keys everything for them. And when it's time to ring that bell in the passing game, that's where things haven't quite been what they've needed. And that's what the Ravens are looking at. Plus, will they continue that offensive philosophy with Greg Roman? He's the guy, running game, Lamar. Is that going to give them what they want down the stretch and in the playoffs? I think the Ravens still want to see a little more of that. So I don't think they're overly upset that they haven't signed him and feel pretty good about being able to sign Roquan Smith and tag Lamar Jackson. It'll be interesting to see how it goes down in the future.
CBS Sports NFL analyst Charles Davis, senior NFL writer Pete Prisco talking about the breaking news. The Baltimore Ravens have signed Roquan Smith to a 5-year, $100 million deal, $45 million of that guaranteed. Thank you very much, gentlemen. They'll be talking about this and, of course, all the major storylines as we head towards the playoffs. Super wild card weekend right around the corner. Join Patrick Peterson and Bryant McFadden on all things covered. Download and follow wherever you get your podcasts. You can also scan the QR code to listen now.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.